Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and I am super excited to be joined by Carolina. Hi, Carolina.
Hey, Becky.
And making her Sunday debut is new to the group contributor, Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Becky.
We're excited to have you. So now you've done quick shots. Now you can see the chaos that is a long form episode.
I'm excited.
Um, good. Let's hope she's excited at the end. She's not like
let's see how this. Let's take the temperature check at the end as well.
right. When she's like, "You all are a lot."
No.
So this is what it's like recording. Yeah.
A little overrated. So how is everybody? Summer is winding down. We are starting into our fall, autumn. But y'all live place where you both are in Florida and you don't have seasons.
Yeah, there's no fall here, much to my dismay.
Now we have summer and not like 2 months of not summer.
Not summer.
Yep.
Okay, so I have to ask, are you pumpkin spice or are you apple cider?
I am apple cider.
But you're also not a coffee person.
I'm not a coffee person. I'm a tea person. And even with the tea, they have pumpkin spice tea. And no, give me a pumpkin pie all freaking day long.
Don't even like that. Pumpkin roll. I'll do a pumpkin roll. Amanda, are you a pumpkin spice or an apple cider?
If I have to pick one for the coffee, I'm going pumpkin spice, but I do not like pumpkin pie. So
give me all the pumpkin pie.
I don't like nutmeg or allspice or the clove. Like, I don't like that flavoring. Carolina's like losing her brain.
Weirdos.
Right now.
Absolute weirdos.
I am a peppermint mocha fan though.
Oh, that's tasty.
Yes. I'm all about the peppermint mocha, peppermint hot chocolate, or a Mexican hot chocolate.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Yummy.
Yes.
So our romance term of the week is actually, it came from a phone conversation I was having earlier on our day of recording with Carolina. We were talking about different types of romances, and I said, we don't read a lot of sapphic romance. And she didn't know what sapphic was. She's like, what's sapphic? So I thought we would use the term, we'd look at LGBTQIA romances. So we hear a lot of, this is a gay romance, which means it's male, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But in publishing, for the female, lesbian, or bi, lesbian relationships, they call it sapphic romance. And that's the term they use, and it has to do with, I meant to Google this before, but, it was a day.
The poet Sappho.
Yes, there it is. It's relating to the sexual attraction or activity between women, and it relates to the ancient Greek poet Sappho. Her poetry or verse is a meter associated with female love. So that is why it's used. And that is, so a lot of times I'll say sapphic romance and I just assume you all know what I'm talking about. So.
I didn't, and I asked.
And you asked. So if we also ever on an episode say a word and you're like, what you talking about, lady? Email me, you guys. Let me know so that I can make sure that we discuss it. Because sometimes I say words and even I don't know what the word means. I just say it. No, that's not true. Okay, so we're going to get right into what we're talking about this episode because I have a feeling it might go a little long because this is a topic that we kind of like and that you all like too. So I think this will be a good one. On this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we're going to give you our small-town superlatives. But before we get into those, so we have like different categories for different kinds of books that would kind of represent, that feel in a small town. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the vibe of small towns and the expectations. So we've done a couple of other episodes on small towns with lots of small town book recs. I did one with, I think, Rachel, Heather, and Leah. and there was another one that was just Leah and I. Um, so we haven't gotten Carolina and now Amanda and some of their feels on Small Town. And I think it's so funny because I do think it's relative to where you grew up and, like how you perceive the world. So one of the things, before we talk Small Town, I say Small Town is based on population size. What do you guys classify Small Town?
Well, I think population size definitely plays into it. But I think when we talk about small town in romance, I think it's more of like a vibe. There's usually like a town center, and it's not, you have to drive at least 40 minutes an hour to get to the like big city.
I
Amanda,
would agree.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, definitely population, but there has to be a vibe as well. And I think you can get a vibe without it being a smaller population, but I know it doesn't classify as small town, but I think you can get small town vibes in bigger cities.
No, I don't disagree with that because, I read a lot of like billionaire romances and they're in New York City. And if you think about even like Gossip Girl, that show, they were all Upper East Side and that had
Mhm.
kind of a small town vibe to it, right? Because all the people that went to that school knew each other, knew each other's business. They had a central meeting location.
I
Yes.
mean, I think there's also the element of it. Yes, it can have the, like something like that can have a small town vibe, but like when I picture, if because I picture myself in these places, let's be real, especially if there's food involved and you're talking about a restaurant or a bakery or a coffee shop, even though I'm going to drink the tea. Like I picture myself there, right? So, if you're saying it's New York, I picture myself in New York, even though they make it feel like much more intimate experience than the hustle and bustle of New York City. Like there's the element of, um, you think about, like, I consider typically cowboy romance is small town because even though they have their ranch and they're there, they usually drive into town, and it like there's a town center and like a main street, and like you find all the shops and all of that element to it is where all of that comes into play.
Um, yeah, I think it's different because like I live in a small town, sort of. Sort of. Population wise, it's not really a small town because I do not know everybody and I can go to a grocery store and not run into anyone I know. Um, but if we start looking at location to amenities, which Carolina brought up, like it has to be a good 40-minute drive to the amenities. I have to drive 45 minutes to get to Target. Um,
Right.
and I know that like author Bella Matthews, she writes big city, small town because all of her people live in suburbs, towns outside of Philadelphia. And I think that the vibe on the East Coast for small town is very different than, say, what we're getting in Montana.
That makes sense.
I
Uh,
would agree with that, but I think that's also geographical, right? Because like you think about a city like Charlotte that's not really small town, it's bigger city in the south, but that has a different vibe than like LA or New York, right?
right.
um so it's, I think there's a little bit of difference there. I mean, do I grew up in the city, I still live, even though I live in a suburb of Orlando, I mean, it's a city. I mean, I romanticize what small towns are in romance books for sure, right? And in my mind, there's no Target like in the small town. Like you'd have to go at least an hour away. Like there's no chain stores. Everything is like,
Local
in my
owned.
mind, is locally owned. Like it's the local grocer, it's the local diner, it's
On
the local bookstore, it's the local.
in the 90s, when the town I live in got a Walmart, it was a big ass deal. Like, big deal. Because then we got a Kmart, and, we have Meijer, but I live in the north, I live in the Midwest, and Meijer's is a Michigan company. And we always had Kroger. But yeah, like, when those first chain restaurants start going in, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, and it's still very small. It's less than 1,600 people, and the closest grocery store is the Piggly Wiggly, which is still 25 minutes away, and the closest Walmart is 45 minutes away. You have to drive more than an hour to get to a Target.
Yeah, 45 minutes to get to the Target. Because one of the things that I ask in this is, can a small town have an airport? So when we define small town romances, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to drive them to the airport, and it's only like 20 minutes to get like private airfields. Yeah, we have a private airfield. We have some corporate headquarters in our town. Um, but like an international airport, if you're not flying private, is, you know, 2 hours to Detroit, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think, like you guys said, distance to amenities helps define small town.
Yeah.
For in romance, at least, I think. Um, okay, so one of the things we always say on this episode is that on these episodes, is we don't realize how much we box ourselves in with certain authors, right? um, so Amanda, I'm going to ask you, do you read a variety of small town authors, or did you struggle coming up with different authors?
I struggled a little bit to not use the same authors. So I had a really hard time not putting Melissa Foster down for everything.
That's okay. Carolina did it for you.
I still have some, but I tried.
Um, it was an effort. Carolina, what about you? What's your variety like?
Same. I struggled. One, there's a comfort in the authors that you love and write and enjoy, especially when you're going, for me, like there's a comfort read when it comes to small town. So I have Melissa Foster in there quite a bit. I also like, I feel like I say this every episode, that where we do these big kind of roundups or we look at books in a different way, I'm kicking my previous self for not tracking certain things better, even though tonight's is like a wackadoo and there's no possible way
No one
that
had any
we
of these
could have,
shelves. No one had any of these shelves.
but I'm like, why didn't I track like people in business? Like what?
Every time you do a new episode, I have to add a new shelf to my Goodreads.
Yeah.
I always love
Right
your
now.
comments on my social media. I don't have a shelf for that. Guess I'll have a shelf for that.
I have one now.
I think Merritt also has that problem. She'll be like, I'm adding another shelf now. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm like, you're welcome. I think it's funny. I mean, I don't have shelves either. But a funny story about my Goodreads shelves. My girl child shared my Goodreads with some of her friends, and she's 18, her friends are 18. And they were like, "Oh, your mom has a thing for BDSM."
Oh no.
And my girl child was like, "Please don't say those words about my mom." And I'm like,
That's awesome.
it's okay. We've scarred you enough, right?
So funny.
Well, I will say the other thing too, as I was going through books and for each of these scenarios, each of these superlatives, was that I had to like catch myself a couple times going, oh, that would fit this category. And at first I was like, oh, it's small town. And then I'm like, no, it's actually not, because the way that some authors write make you feel like it's a small, like they write in such an intimate way with the small group, kind of like you're talking about with like the Gossip Girls in New York and the Upper West Side, like Upper East Side. And so that was an interesting like observation I made as well.
Well, and I know like we often hear authors be like, well, Charleston has small town vibes. But it's a city center. I mean, it's the hub for, airlines and, the banking industry. It's a fairly large metropolitan area. Um,
Right.
Yes.
so I think again, for the purpose of this, we would have been fine if you had used something that takes place in Charlotte. Like, I'm not going to come hunt you down if you didn't get exactly small town, but it does make it a
Now she tells
challenge.
me.
But it does make it a challenge when we go to do these things and you're like, because I often find myself like, I thought I read a lot of small town romances. I really don't. I think that I read more big city. And there might be made up cities, but I read more big city romances.
Okay, so for our listeners, if you find a book or like a small town that fits these categories and feel very passionately about, you need to tell us if they're not authors that we've been talking about, because
Yes.
obviously we have more reading to do.
Well, yes. Yes, yes, we do. Okay, so let's just jump right into these superlatives. And we can talk just a little bit briefly, like why we think this book fits this superlative. I came up with these funny off the internet. They're supposed to be fun and lighthearted. Some of them we pulled completely out of our ass. So just go with it, guys. These are like, I say that because the very first one is, what small town is most likely to have a Bigfoot sighting?
That was me. Sorry.
That's okay. I just never thought about it. But
Amanda coming out strong.
so let's just start with you, Amanda. What small town? So if you know the name of the small town, give us the name of the small town, and then just tell us what book or series and what by what author. And then if you have a favorite book in the series, you can tell us.
Okay. It's Fallport, Virginia, and it's the Eagle Point Search and Rescue series by Susan Stoker. And the first book is Searching for Lily, and it's actually she's a camera woman for a paranormal romance investigation show, and they're in town to film a Bigfoot sighting kind of show. So that's where that came from. And then her hero is Ethan, and he's a former Navy SEAL, and he and a group of friends work the search and rescue for Fallport. So while they're on location, another member of the show goes missing, and they send Ethan's team out to find them. And
Okay.
he and Lily get together, and it's a really good series.
And I know Susan Stoker, like she has swag that's a squishy little Bigfoot
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch that's really
Yes.
cute. Okay, Carolina, what's your most likely to have a Bigfoot sighting?
Um, I don't know the name of the town, but the book is "Would You Marry Me" by Daphne Elliott. He's a lumberjack and he's getting ready for a competition, and they're out in the woods all the time. So I'm like, there's bound to be a Bigfoot
Right.
sighting, right?
Well, and
Like,
that's in Maine. That series takes place in Maine. So
yeah, I think it's very appropriate.
that's a good one. Mine is Big Sky Country, Montana. It is the fake small town county in Aurora Rose Reynolds' Adventures in Love series. And my favorite book in that series is Rushed, which is the first book in this series. She goes on a backpacking adventure, like a survivalist type minimal backpacking adventure, and it's couples, and she was supposed to go with her fiance, but right before she was supposed to leave on this vacation, her fiance broke up with her and told her he was gay. So she decides to go anyway on this survivalist camping trip, and ends up falling in love with the guy. So it's really cute. But they do all, it's funny because, she won't have sex with them because they've been out in the wilderness and not had a shower. It's just like, I'm not doing it. No. Which, fair, right? Because, no one wants stinky smelling. Anyway. Next, small town superlative. Town most likely to host a food competition. We'll start with Carolina. What you got?
I feel like that could be like any Melissa Foster small town, period. I don't have a specific book rec. I just feel like it could be any Melissa Foster small town.
Any Melissa Foster small town. What do you have, Amanda?
Okay, and tell me if this is not small town, but I had Freedom, Kansas from After Hours on Milagro Street by Angelina M.
Absolutely.
Lopez.
Absolutely small town.
Yeah, so I feel like, that Alex and Jeremiah would host a competition to bring in, publicity for the bar
Sure.
and the town. So that's the one I had.
And if people haven't read that series, read book one. Book two comes out September the 5th. And I cannot wait. Um, I have Fall Creeks, North Carolina, which my favorite book in this series is What Heals Us by Maggie Gates. Um, so there's kind of this auxiliary women's group that drops casseroles off, like when you're sick or you've had an accident or something, and they drop the casseroles off like a plethora of them. And I feel like this town, there's also a restaurant they talk about a lot in this town. This is a town that feeds you. Like it had that southern, come home, we're going to feed you vibe. So I absolutely think it would be Fall Creek, North Carolina. Um, okay, the best library or other type of building or business award. Um, I went with Jackson Harbor, Michigan, which is part of The Boys of Jackson Harbor by Lexi Ryan. And book four in that series, she is the town librarian. And that's why I went with that one. She falls in love with one of the brothers that is owns the Jackson Brewing Company, and they're like a craft brew, small brewery in northern Michigan. It's a really great series if you haven't read The Boys of Jackson Harbor. I'm obsessed with Lexi Ryan. This is not news to anybody. Okay, the noisiest, oh my God, nosiest neighbor award. So these are going to be neighbors that are up in your business, a town with no secrets.
Okay, I have to go back to the library one.
Oh, sorry. I totally, because I'm the last. I went first. Oh, shit. Oh my God. Okay. Amanda, what do you got for best library?
All right, I have to go with Green Valley Public Library from Green Valley, Tennessee. The Smarty Pants Romance by Penny Reed.
Yeah, it's a whole
And
series
then,
set in the library, right?
yeah, the majority of it, some of the books are siblings from people from the library. But the first book is Love in Due Time by L.B. Dunbar, and the hero is the librarian. And then he's a former biker and he's back in town working construction. And they actually have a kind of a re-meet cute in the Piggly Wiggly. So
You just like saying
Aw.
Piggly Wiggly.
I do.
I used to laugh when we'd go back to visit my mom's small town. It was in the South. And my grandmother would be like, we have to go down to the Piggly Wiggly. And I'm like, is that really the grocery store's name? Has the pig head with the bow tie.
Yep.
Okay, Carolina, what's the best library town?
I am going with, I don't know the name of the town. Oh no, Saddle Creek, Texas. It is Lone Star Ex-Con by Kat Baxter. Um, she is a librarian and he is the ex-con. But he takes his niece to the library all the time. And he like there's a lot of really cute moments. Like he watches her from afar and just is crushing on her from afar before they like actually start talking. It's super cute.
Fun. Okay, back to nosiest neighbors now. Amanda, who's your nose? I'm just going to go last because if not, I will do what I just did. What town wins for the nosiest neighbor award?
I didn't have one down here until just this weekend, and I read Paintbrush Peak
Oh,
by Mimi Kinley in Colorado.
yeah,
So the mountain men of Paintbrush Peak, and then the little nosy neighbor ladies who get all up in the business of the sisters who come to town.
yeah.
So
Tempting Max and Aunt Sally. I think you meet her in book two of The Sisters.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
she's in that one too. Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
And Aunt Sally is like, she is the head of the gossip.
She is. So yeah, she's my nosiest neighbor.
That's great. Carolina, who's your nosiest neighbors?
I struggled this one because I like remember nosy neighbors, but they were not small towns.
That's fair. I went with Papillon, Louisiana, the Butterfly Bayou series by Lexi Blake, and I would say book one um, is one of my favorites. But honestly, if you think about, well, you haven't. Did you read Bootleg Springs by Lucy Score and Claire Kingsley? Carolina?
That's the first one in the
Yeah.
series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty nosy, those
They
neighbors.
were.
Okay. See, I think you read more Small Town than you realized. You just didn't.
That's true. Well, and I mean, there's a element sometimes of book amnesia. You read certain things and then trying to, because some of these are maybe not nosiest neighbor, but some of these are pretty specific. So trying to figure out what that is.
No, I don't. I agree. I agree. They're very specific, and then you have to sit here and think, okay, what book? I just went with whatever popped in my brain first. You know.
Either that or I just completely blank.
Same.
Okay, so prettiest town square, which for Carolina is a vibe that the book needs to have, kinda part of that town center. That piece that is that connection. So Carolina, prettiest town square. Did you have one?
Yeah, Winterville, Fairy Elks, whole series.
Just read all of
Like
Carrie Elks.
I that done.
Um, I love Carrie Elks. But you know, Amanda, what is your prettiest town square?
I went old school with this one. I went Boonesboro, Maryland from Nora
Oh,
Roberts' The Inn at Boonesboro trilogy.
that's a
And my
good one.
favorite book is The Perfect Hope, which is book three. It's Ryder and Hope, and they're renovating it's an old building in the town square, and they're turning it into an inn. I can't remember if it was an inn to start with, but she's been hired as the innkeeper. She's from the city. He's extremely grumpy. He's running the construction crew at the inn, and then eventually his family construction company starts renovating more of the town square. So
Yeah,
that's my take.
that's a really great series. If you guys haven't read it, it's an excellent series. I think book one, she owns the bookstore.
Yes,
Yeah,
she does.
like it's such a great series. I went with Cherry Tree Harbor by Melanie Harlow and Runaway Love because they talk about the town square as she's running through it in her wedding dress.
Yeah.
So I went there. Um, the most scenic view. So, Amanda, what small town has a very scenic view?
I have Bangor, Alaska, which is a made-up town in K.A. Tucker's The Simple Wild.
Okay.
I love that series. It's set in Alaska, obviously. Jonah and Kala. She's from the city, I believe, Toronto, and she's come to reconnect with her estranged father. Jonah works for her father as a charter pilot. And so there are a lot of scenes where they're in the plane flying over Alaska. And then they have to go rescue a couple that didn't meet checkpoint, and they get stuck and stranded in a kind of a cabin out in the middle of the wilderness, and that's where things happen. So
Nice.
it's I love that book so much.
Carolina, for you, what was the most scenic view?
I went with it's in Hamilton, Montana. It's actually, and I'm trying to find the name of the ranch and I can't find it. It's the ranch in the Meet Me in Montana series by Kelly Elliott. Because there's a lot of different um it makes me think without being the crazy what Yellowstone is what like the ranch vibe, like you could take a horseback ride like through the woods and then it opens up to a lake. Like there's just, they have a lot of property. So you get like, you go one way, you go east and you get this view, you go west and you get another view. Um,
Yeah,
and
because in
so
the
why wouldn't you want to go on a ride with a cowboy to look at great views?
right, well, in like the third book, they talk about going up into the mountains, right, with
Yeah.
her horses and stuff, and she buys land that's like kind of plateaued,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
above the valley. Yeah, that's a pretty. So that book has really, that series has really phenomenal descriptions.
Yeah. Hmm.
And sometimes I think when we get small town Montana, all the descriptions feel pretty basic, right? Like it could be anywhere, slightly mountainous cows. But I feel like
Right.
Kelly Elliott in those books really gives us that's the level of description I wanted in the Elsie Silver Chestnut Spring series.
I would agree because, but the other part, she just doesn't do the description for the sake of description because the locations become a character and there's intention behind the settings in, especially in this series. They're going down a certain path or sharing this lake or sharing this view or sharing the vista or the plateau. It's because one of them like grew up going, this is like, this was my comfort space, or I love going down this path because of this, or they share a romantic moment somewhere. And so I think that's what makes it special as well. It makes you connect to a location.
For me, most scenic view, I went with Silver Island, Massachusetts by Melissa Foster, The Steels at Silver Island, and the Silver Harbor series. And I'm sure you guys will have picks for that later on in the list. But I'm obsessed with the Northeast. Like, I love the picturesques of Nantucket and all of that kind of stuff. So that is why
Same.
that's why I went that way. um, okay, most likely to have danger lurking around every corner. Like these are towns I'm not moving to because there seems to be like a stalker or a kidnapping, or an unexplained murder around every corner. Amanda, so what town did you have here?
Okay, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but it's Aplana Island, Massachusetts. It's one of the Boston Islands, and it's from the Monsters and Muses series by Sav R. Miller. My favorite book in that series is Arrows and Apologies. It's book 4. The main characters are Alistair and Cora. He is the dirty mayor of the town, and she is a thief. And they meet right away, and this book pops in the first couple of pages and it just continues to pop. And this town is kind of like it's a little offshoot. There are some mafia members and things of that nature, and there's a whole lot of danger going on there.
What do you have for this, Carolina?
I have Hope Valley series by Jessica Prince. It's in Hope Valley is the small town. I don't know what, I don't remember what state it's in. But it's so funny because it's like this is one of those series that you're like, how did this small town have this many good-looking men that are all single and they all like work for a security force? But it's a small town. You're like, where does this exist? Because
Can I
I
move
Take
need
me
there?
to
there,
move
please.
there. However, there's kidnappings, there's gun violence, there's like a little bit of mayhem, there's a kerfuffle with a biker gang. Like, I just, but if these guys are protecting me, then I'm A-okay.
So I went with Redemption Hills, California by A.L. Jackson. It's her Redemption Hills series. I think the fourth book in that series, Promise Me Always, is my absolute favorite. I think that's where's that book too?
Milo or Judd?
Milo. I want Milo.
Milo's 4.
Yeah.
Judd is 2. I'll take Judd.
Um, I mean, I liked Judd too, but yes, Milo was my favorite in that series. But yeah, there seems to be danger. There's murder. There's things catch on fire. Um, okay, so next superlative, most likely to host the X Games. So we're looking for extreme sports. Carolina, did you have one for this?
Yeah, I have Hope Valley, Colorado, specifically Redemption Ranch. Melissa Foster's The Trouble with Whiskey, because they literally they do the BMX bikes, and they like have a course in the backyard. So like I'm convinced that the ranch could host the X
X
Games.
Games. Okay. What do you have, Amanda? Do you have one for this?
I do. It's Rising Sun, Wyoming, from the Everything series by A.K. Evans. It is about a group of snowboarders that are all friends, and three of them are still competing. In the first one, the hero actually he stopped competing and he actually makes snowboards. So there's a little bit of suspense in there as well, but all there's a lot of snowboarding, and then I think even a couple of the guys are still in the X Games.
I went with Calamity Falls, Wyoming, by Erica Kelly. This is a long series. These absolutely stand alone. I think there's 12 or 13 in this series, but they stand alone. The first three books are three brothers that are former snowboarders, and they open up a training facility outside of Calamity. And then slowly they start to trickle into town, and some of their, other snowboarding, uh, BMX, skateboarders, that kind of stuff come into town for training.
I'll
Um,
have to check that out. I love snowboarding books.
yeah, this whole series is really great. And then later on in the series, she has pro football players that come in and train in the small town. And there's this group of sisters that their dad's a former professional football player and their mom's a former supermodel. And like they have, my favorite is, and it's on my Goodreads shelf and I can't think of it right at this moment, but it's a secret baby. I think I
Ooh.
recommended it in the secret baby to Jenny in our last episode. It's a secret baby. She's a chocolatier. She owns a chocolate shop that makes intricate chocolate um, designs for the resort in the town. Anyway, if you haven't read Erica Kelly's Calamity Falls, they're in KU and they're excellent. Quick reads. Um, okay, Carolina, home of the Cowboys.
Woo woo. Okay, so for this one, I went with Moss Creek, Montana. Janice Whitaker and her Cowboy Classified series, or on Amazon it's called the Moss Creek series, I think.
Cowboys of Moss Creek, as I think
Yeah,
calling
something
it
like
on
that.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's called different on Goodreads than it is on Amazon. Um, but there's lots of cowboys and they're delicious. I
it's
have other
such a good
cowboys that
series.
I'm talking about in other areas, but yes, it's such a good series.
It is.
Basically, if there's Cowboys, Carolina has pretty much read it.
I've not read all of them. There's still some that I haven't read, but I do love me a cowboy.
Um, Amanda, for you, where's the home of the cowboy?
Well, it's two because it's a joint series. It's Oak Falls, Virginia, and Pleasant Hill, Maryland, from the Montgomerys and Braden series by Melissa Foster. And my favorite one in that one, or the most cowboy one, I think, in that one is Hot for Love, which is Nick Braden and Trixie Jericho. He's a freestyle horse trainer, and she's actually starting a miniature horse therapy business. So there's a
Okay.
lot of horses, a lot of cowboys. Her brothers are cowboys. There's a whole lot of cowboys going on there.
It's interesting because we don't get a ton of cowboys in the Southeast.
My backup was actually Natasha Madison's Southern series, but we
Okay.
don't know where in the South, but I think it's in the Southeast somewhere.
It is. It's like North Carolina, Tennessee. It's that,
Okay.
national park kind of Blue Ridge Mountain, right? Isn't that no, Smoky Mountain, Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
You
Um,
want to hear something shocking?
yeah.
I haven't read that series yet.
The Braden Montgomery series or the Southern series by Natasha?
No, the one by Melissa Foster. Like Yeah, it's been on my like TBR forever.
Get to that, sister. For me, the home of the Cowboys is Mason Creek, Montana, and this is a multi-author series, and I love so many in this series. I really enjoy them. They're really great, easy reads. I think I started like in the middle of it. Each one stands absolutely on its own. But Molly McLean has a couple books in this series that I really just enjoyed. Okay, most likely small town to meet a billionaire. Amanda, what do you got?
I know what you have, and that was what I had, but
No, you can say it. That's fine.
I had Hunter Valley, Montana with the On a Manhunt series by Vanessa Vale.
Yeah.
But I also did put Time River, Colorado from A.L. Jackson's Love Me Today. I don't know if the rest of them are going to be billionaires, but the first one was.
Yeah, the first one was. No, that's I feel like Hunter Valley we are tripping over billionaires.
Yeah.
Um Carolina, do you have most likely to meet a billionaire small town?
Yes, this is also a cowboy romance. Devil's Bluff, Most Eligible Cowboy by Stacey Kennedy.
That's so funny. Okay, give me just a second here. Let me see if I can come up with a small town billionaire. No.
Sorry.
No, you know what? Actually, no. The Cavallari Billionaire series by Zoe Blake. They own a vineyard in small town Italy. So you got international vibes there.
Oh,
So, and I
I
do not know
like
the
it.
name of the village, but it's in Italy. And there's wine and sexy
I need
men.
to read that book or
Those
series.
those books, I mean, if consent is something you like, then those books are not for you.
No, I'm good.
Consent is gray at best. um, but that cover of Scandals of a Father, like, hot damn.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
okay, so best small town gossip chain. Um, who would win the game of telephone? Uh, Amanda, what do you got?
I didn't have anything for this one.
Okay. That's because you need to read The Hartson Brothers by Carrie Elks, but that's fine. What do you have, Carolina?
I have Silver Island, the Steals at Silver Island series, the whole series by Melissa Foster, because their sibling text chat is off the chain, and the gossip when they bring it all back up is hilarious, and how all the siblings interact with each other, um, like and responses is just so perfect. And it's in every single book of the series, which I love. Like it just doesn't happen in one book and then it gets dropped. Like this text thread is its own character.
Can I tell you something funny about text threads? I didn't realize this was a thing until the last like year or two that people have like these big family group texts because I'm not super close with my siblings. It's just my sister, so it's one person. But we recently started one like for the kids with Mike and I, and I'm like, it's really basically where we share TikToks. But I didn't know like family group texts were a thing until really I think Melissa Foster's Steals at Silver Island. Um, Amanda, do you have a small town gossip chain? Oh,
No, I didn't get one for that one just because I'm using the steals for something else.
that's okay. I
I think
think
I used the Steals for like three different things.
I think the moral of this story is if you haven't read the Steals at Silver Island, just go read the Steals at
Read the
Silver
Steals
Island.
at Silver Island.
Yes, absolutely.
I went with Bootleg Springs, West Virginia, which is the Lucy Score Claire Kingsley, because in that series, whenever there's a crisis, they meet covertly and like all end up in one place to talk about whatever the problem is. So, but I think that gossip, some kind of gossip chain, some kind of ladies auxiliary, some kind of the old town staples I think that that's a vibe that needs to be in a book for it to be small town.
I would agree.
Um, okay, so most likely to have family drama. What small town is most likely to have family drama? Carolina, do you have one for this?
Yeah, I don't know what town it is. And I was trying to look it up, but it's just not working for me. Um, the Tannen Boys series, by Lauren Landish. Um,
I don't think she
because
ever
there's,
names the town.
yeah, I don't know. I can't find it. And well, I haven't, it's been a while since I've read it, but um, I did try to do a quick search for it, and I don't know that it, I don't know.
It's okay.
Um, but yeah, like that, the three of them go through a lot of drama because there's parent loss and condition of the ranch. Again, cowboys. Hello, sorry. This is like small town slash cowboys if you're um and so there's a lot of drama and them trying to stay together but not. And this is a spin-off series of the um Bennett Boys Ranch. And so that family kind of adopts them, and they're still like, even though they're welcomed, and there's still a little drama. Like there's just drama.
That's so funny. What did you have for this, Amanda? Most likely to have family drama.
I have Coal Haven, North Dakota from Marie Johnston's Oil Baron series.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of family drama going on that series, and I would say probably the most drama happens in the first book in Make Me Whole. Um,
right.
yeah, so Liam and Kennedy, that's their book.
Yeah. If you haven't read that series, also read that series. Um, I love Marie Johnston's books. Hopefully she's not in the shower when she's listening to this episode. Okay, for me, I had River Rock, Colorado. This is the Three Chicks Brewery series by Stacey Kennedy. These are three sisters that inherit their family brewery business, like a craft brewery company. And the sisters have lots of drama, not between them, but between them versus the town. And can they have an uncle that's trying to buy it, and then a distributor that's trying to cheat them. Book two is a secret baby. And each book is a sister's hair color. So the sassy blonde, but that's also the name of the beer that's featured in that episode. So okay, best place to ski. And I didn't specify winter skiing or water skiing. So, whatever skiing you want to do. Amanda, what do you have for best place to ski?
The only thing I could come up with, and I didn't even think about water skiing, so you can tell my mind's trying to find some snow right now. I picked the I picked the Madigan Mountain, Colorado, from the Madigan Mountain series, by Serena Bowen, Rebecca Yaros, and Debney Perry.
That was mine too. I really liked that series. I've read book one and two. I have not gone to book three. But I've read Rebecca's book and Serena's book.
I've only read Serena's book so far.
Yeah, they're really good. What did you have for best place to ski, Carolina?
Yeah, I didn't even think about water skiing. Because I immediately thought of Winterville, and Leave Me Breathless by Carrie Elks, because he's a former snowboarder and he's managing the slopes for the family's resort, and I really want to go there. This has got to be a real small town,
Yeah.
a real fictional small town,
Uh-huh.
because I want to be there.
I do love Winterville, which is really funny because the next superlative is most likely. What small town is most likely to be on the nice list? Quote, quote, the nice list. So, what small town has the most holiday cheer? Carolina, what's your pick here?
Winterville.
I'm glad I
I
have a
mean,
backup for this one.
well, because I mean, hello, we have the one book where she brings back the Christmas review that her grandmother did.
Yeah.
Then you have North and
The
the
Christmas Tree
Christmas
Farm.
Tree
Amanda,
Farm.
have you read this series yet?
No, I haven't. I read one of her books, but I think it was the Heartbreak Brothers
Mm-hmm.
first book, but I haven't read any of the other ones yet.
So this series is if you like Hallmark movies at Christmas time, but would really like them to have more spice and more than just one kiss. Like if
Yeah.
you like that small town Christmassy vibe, they really get into Christmas.
Yeah.
Read Welcome to Winterville. Read the Winterville series because this is everything you want as a romance, as a spicy romance reader. This is everything I want in a Christmas romance.
So I didn't even pick up on the fact that you were talking about Christmas when you said nice list. I was like, nice. I was like, what? I was like, what does she mean? I was
That's
like, just a
okay.
nice town. So mine has nothing to do with Christmas.
That's okay. What is it?
It's Garnet Bend, Montana from the Resting Warrior Ranch series by Josie Jade and Janie Crouch, because I was thinking nice, and it's former Navy SEALs that are running a ranch specializing in training emotional and support service
Oh,
animals.
that's really nice.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking.
That's okay. Um, I had a backup because I was fairly certain Carolina was going to steal Winterville from me.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I was.
I had a backup of the Reindeer Falls series by Jana Aston,
Ooh, that's a good one
which
too.
are six Christmas themed
Novellas.
novellas that are mirrored off of Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is the home of the year-round Christmas tree store,
And
or
there's a bakery in that
yeah,
series.
there's
And
goats.
yes, there's goats. That's a good one too.
um, Okay, small town superlative, the hometown heartthrobs. What hometown has, or what small town brings the swoon? So, Amanda, what do you got for swoon?
Okay, I have Watkins Glen, Alabama. And this is from the Stealth Ops and Falcon Falls series by Brittany Shaheen. The main book
Mm.
that's set in Watkins Glen is The Broken One, which is probably my favorite book she's ever written. It's book 2 in the Falcon Falls series, but it's set in this small town of Alabama. There's the Hawkins family, who Ella is the heroine in this book, and then Jesse McAdams is the hero. He is one of my top book boyfriends of all time. But it's like I said, a small town. He's a former military guy. Then he's doing some wet work for the CIA. She is his best friend's sister. They've been friends since they were kids. He's kept away from her because he doesn't think he's good enough for her, and she's set to marry someone else, and basically doesn't go through with it because they realize they're in love with each other. There is so much angst and swoon, and then they end up having to fake marry each other for an operation to keep her safe. It has all the things. I love this book.
I think I need to read this book.
Yes, it's been on my TBR, so this is making it move up the TBR very quickly.
Message me anytime.
Okay, Carolina, what small town has all the swoon? So, what is hometown is the heartthrobs?
I picked for this one Bellamy Creek.
Oh,
The
that's a great
Bellamy Creek
series.
series by Melanie Harlow, specifically Make Me Yours and Call Me Crazy. Make Me Yours is the one where he's the cop, single dad cop, and she's the neighbor, and she's been pining for him forever. And there's a late night text that opens the floodgates of conversation. So freaking cute. And then Call Me Crazy, he's the carpenter and she is the real estate agent. They have a little like enemies to lovers, but the Italian family. And
The
is
best
it
scene in that
Marriage
whole
of
book, yeah,
Convenience?
yeah, it is a
Yeah,
marriage of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
convenience, is when he gives her
Yeah.
the ring that's engraved to somebody.
I still need to
Yeah.
read that series. I haven't read that series
Oh,
yet. So
my favorite is the
I know.
last book in that series.
That
Uh,
one's good. My favorite is
it's a
2 and
cowboy
3.
too.
I know. It is a cowboy. There, because there's a scene, like a late night scene, right?
Yeah,
In that last one that's hot and spicy.
it is. It is super spicy. So for me, the hometown heartthrobs, I went with Willow Spring, which is I believe in Georgia. This is the Kincaid Brothers series by Kaylee Ryan. Um, we first visited there with Never With Me, and then it's with the Stay Tonight, Stay Always. But seriously, it's 9 brothers, 9 single brothers in this small town that are all like lots of blue collar romance. So if you like blue collar, you should absolutely be reading this series. Kind of like Carrie Elks. Like, what are you doing if you're reading Small Town and you haven't read Kaylee Ryan and Carrie Elks? Like, come on, people, get with the
I haven't
program.
read Kaylee Ryan yet either. So
Yeah, neither have I.
I
Amanda, we'll
know.
buddy read it. Let's
Yes,
go.
let's do it.
Wait, yes, you have, Carolina, because you and I read Never With Me together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we've read it. You've been to this small town.
Oh my goodness.
Because this is one where they have a blind date photo shoot.
Oh, that was so good. That was good.
So his sister, his little sister, sets them up with her best friend, her brother and her best friend, on a blind date photo shoot. And she's the photographer. It's so good.
So
Yes.
since it's my first episode, can I break the rules and say
Yeah.
one more?
Yeah, of course. You
You can,
wait,
even if it's your
wait.
like 5th or 20th episode, you can break the rules.
Do we actually
There are
have
no rules.
rules? Do we
They're
have
guidelines.
their guidelines?
They're
Yeah,
guidelines.
I only wanted to mention this one because we're gonna be doing book club next month with Melanie Moreland. So I
Yeah.
wanted to mention Little Burn Canada, which is her Rev to the Max series. So
Yes.
I didn't even know the
Yes.
town had a name. I actually went looking the other day and I was like, does this town have a name?
I
So
dug for it. I dug really hard for it. I was like, I'm gonna find it. So
I love it. No, good choice. Good choices all around.
um
yay.
that would have been a good one with for the pie, for the baked goods.
Oh yeah. I didn't
Because
even think about that.
Oh,
she makes all those freaking pies in that book. Um, okay. So what small town are you most likely to be kidnapped in? Amanda, what do you got?
So I have Cradle Mountain, Idaho, which is from the Blue Halo series by Nissa Catherine. And book 5, it's called Aiden. And these guys are former military. They were all kidnapped and forced to undergo government experiments to turn them into basically super soldiers. So they get out of this and they move to small town and open up a security series. And then this one in particular, Aiden and Cassie were together before he was kidnapped and put through this program. And she actually ends up living in kind of a cult with her sister. And she's in trouble and married to someone else. And her current husband actually contacts Aiden to come and kidnap her to keep her safe. So there's a whole lot of kidnapping going on here. But it's a really good book. That whole series is it's really good if you like former military kind of experimental things going on.
Yeah. So are all her books kind of like that borderline experimental sci-fi kind of mind bender type feel to them?
No, she has it's the Blue Halo and I'm blanking on the first series that she wrote was like that as well. But she also has a small town series called Mercy Ring, and they were all former military as well, but they didn't have any experiments done on them, and they've moved to this small town. They've actually opened a boxing gym.
Okay.
So that one, Mercy Ring, doesn't have the super soldier stuff.
Okay. Carolina, what do you got for most likely to be kidnapped?
I got um the Hope Valley series by Jessica Prince, because in book 2, Come Back Home Again, the heroine, gets kidnapped. And in book 3, The Best of Me, some of the kids get kidnapped.
Okay.
So we got lots of kidnapping.
Lots of kidnapping. So I went with Wolf Gap, Oregon. The Tattered Stars, Tattered and Torn series by Catherine Cowell. I think there's kidnapping in every single book in that series. Really, if Catherine Cowell creates the small town, there will be kidnapping
Yes.
and murder. So I felt like any would have worked for her. Okay, so what small town in Romance Landia has the best farmers market? Did anyone have one for this?
I did.
What'd you have?
I don't know. This goes back to the whole Lauren Landish, Bennett boys, Landon boys. We don't know what the small town name is. But Racing Heart, Cheyenne, it kind of starts in that book, but then continues in the Tannen
Oh yeah, she sells her goat
boys
soap.
series. She sells her goat soap at the and I think she also does canning.
Yeah, like pie
Um,
filling and stuff, right?
yeah. So, and I also love that in addition to the farmers markets, which she makes her brothers work, she also makes her brothers do the deliveries.
Oh, that's cute.
Uh,
So, yeah.
I went with Friendship, Rhode Island, which is In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. And it's also featured again in Shucked. But for those that like Marie Johnston, Make Me Exhale.
Oh, I
Isla,
didn't even think of that.
she's the manager of a farmer's market. And she's trying to make it, more than just what it is. So that's another place that had a farmer's market. But I know that I've read more small towns that have farmers markets.
Yeah.
Same, and I couldn't think of anything.
Well, look, I just gave you
Well,
one.
adding another shelf.
It's now like now when you start reading small towns, you're gonna be like,
You'll find them everywhere.
you'll be like,
Everything
oh,
has a
this is a
farmer's
farmer's
market.
market. Add it to my shelf, and I'll never ask you for it again. um, okay, Carolina, what hometown is the most athletic? So we're looking here for a book rec where maybe like a sports hero returns.
So I picked, and I don't know the small town, but I picked Not My Romeo by Ilsa Madden Mills because he is the quarterback and she's from the small town. And they end up doing a community theater production of Romeo and Juliet together, which it's just really cute. And it has like all the small town vibes, and her mother and aunt own the local beauty shop. So that one has a lot of gossip too, like small town gossip. But I have to say, okay, a few things that I love about this. She has a miniature pig, pet pig, that she names Romeo. And their meet cute is like I guess it's a mistaken identity. She's going on a Valentine's date and she thinks he's the weather caster like person
Yeah, the
that she's supposed
forecaster,
to,
the weatherman.
yeah, weatherman. And she just kind of talks and he kind of goes along with it, and it's not until later that she realizes who he actually is because he was sitting
Yeah.
by himself.
Yeah, it's a small
So
town outside Nashville, Tennessee.
yeah, it's super cute.
Um, okay, Amanda, what did you have for most athletic hometown?
Okay, I had Ruby Creek. It's in Canada. I'm not sure what part of Canada. It's from the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver,
Hmm.
and it's specifically a false start, which is book 4.
Okay.
And that's Griffin and Nadia. He's a retired football player. He's a former Super Bowl champion. He had to retire because of a traumatic brain injury. And then she's also his best friend's younger sister.
Yep.
So
That's British Columbia. She's on the
is
west.
it?
That's in the West
Oh, okay.
Coast for that one.
Okay.
I went with Crystal Lake, Michigan, which is a series of books by Juliana Stone. It starts with the Baker triplets. One of the girls is a former Olympic medalist female hockey player. But later on in the series, there's the Blackwells of Crystal Lake. And one is the goalie for the Detroit Red Wings, and the other is a former pro football player. Anyway, there's lots of great books in that series, and that's one of those series that you can pick it up anywhere. Like they're kind of in groups of 3 or 4. But you can start anywhere and you kind of get the whole vibe of the town and meet different characters and can go back and forth. Um, okay, we got four more, guys. Stick with us here. Best small town, I guess five more. Best small town bakery. Carolina, did you have a small town bakery?
I do. It's in Nova Scotia. It's from the book Tears of Joy, Tears Tiers, like in cake tears, by Lauren Grace. It's a few years old. It will like I think I've talked about this book before. It'll emotionally break you, but then put you back together. Like I sobbed while I was reading this at 3 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't put the book down, and I like had to stop reading because I was crying so hard. But like it like the emotions, crazy. But I will also say there is a scene with cake frosting that you won't want to miss.
Okay.
Very nice.
And it's grumpy, like he's super grumpy. And that's awesome too.
Okay, Amanda, what do you got for small town bakery?
I have Donner Bakery in Green Valley, Tennessee, but specifically in the Fighting for Love series by Jiffy Kate, in Stud Muffin, Tempest, and Cage, and she is the Duchess of Muffins.
Duchess
So,
of
and she
Muffins.
names all of her muffins after like songs. So she has like Crazy and Back in Baby's Arms and The Fight Inside of Me. So
I
Oh,
I
I
love
love
love it.
muffins.
So I went with Small Town Iowa, the sugar coated series by Aaron Nicholas. All of the titles in this series are puns. So it's the sugar coated series, but like making whoopie, so whoopie pies, is one of the books in this series. And it's just fun, sweet, small town romance. Sugar coated, I think, is book one, and she's a cake decorator. Um, I think. I don't know. It's been a minute. Um, Best small town drinks. So we're looking for a coffee shop, a brewery, a distillery, or a winery. Carolina, what small town hosts the best drinks?
Newberry Springs has a brewery, and it's owned by the hero of Everything to Lose by Harlow James. And it's a friends to lovers, and the heroine helps him run the brewery as well. So a little workplace, friends to lovers.
Okay. What do you
Second
have?
chance-ish. And I have
Oh,
an honorable mention
go ahead.
because I want to go to this bistro. It's the bistro. It's on Silver Harbor. Maybe We Will by Melissa Foster.
What did you have, Amanda?
I had Sweetbriar, Oregon. It's Violet's Coffee Shop from the Barrett Sisters series by Nora Everly. And the book that it features in is From the Heart, which is book 3 with Violet and Jake. She owns the coffee shop, and kind of everything happens in the coffee shop. That one would also work for Nosiest Neighbors. The family is kind of all up in the business. So it's a really sweet series. A lot of it's second chance.
Okay, so I went with Drakesville, Pennsylvania, which is the McGregor Brewery series by Danica Flynn. Because honestly, I loved going and sampling craft beer. And another kind of honorable mention for that one is this new series, Beards and Brew by Mimi Kinley. Because in Tempting Max, that he's the brewer for a new brewery. So, and I know that I've read more. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is another one of those
Yeah.
categories where I'm like, I think I've read more.
I would also put this. This is where I originally had the Steels at Silver Island because it's the top of the island winery.
Winery?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another one for that one.
Okay, best place to have a wedding. Amanda, what do you got for best place to have a wedding?
I would also say Silver Island at the Steels for Silver Island because I was going to say something else, but I think you probably have the other one I was going to say.
You can say
So
that one too. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
I'll
Okay.
but yeah, I think the vineyard in Silver Island would be a beautiful place for a wedding. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Carolina, what do you have? Do you have a best place to have a wedding?
I picked Cloverleaf Farms, Melanie Harlow.
Oh, right, because
Um,
that's a
it's a wedding venue,
and a
uh,
winery.
and a winery and an inn.
That's so funny. Okay, I put Somewhere in the South, Small Town, the Southern Wedding series by Natasha Madison. Again, I think it's kind of the Asheville,
Yeah.
Tennessee, South Carolina, or North Carolina border right there. Apparently I really wanted the Nosiest Neighbor Award because I have it down here as a second time. So honorable mention, because we didn't talk about it, Hartson Creek, West Virginia, Virginia, which is the Carrie Elks series of the Heartbreak Brothers, because they have chairs on Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to go to chairs. I do. Okay, so our final one is Best Beach Town. Amanda, what do you have for your best beach town?
I have Bayside, Massachusetts from The Wicked's Dark Nights at Bayside by Melissa Foster.
Okay.
And my favorite book in that one is, well, it's not, it's, I don't know. I could make an argument for the first two books and that one being my favorite, but I'll talk about A Little Bit Wicked, which is book one. It's Justin and Chloe, and then they have some epiphanies on the beach and like kind of get to know each other, and that's kind of when they figure out they want to be in a relationship. And then also they have a book club, and she's supposed to be having one on the beach for a luau, and it's raining, and he brings the beach inside her house and recreates it.
Oh,
So I that's one of my favorites.
That's so sweet. Did you have a best beach town, Carolina?
yeah, it's tied, and they're both Melissa Foster, um, and it's Silver Harbor and Silver Island.
Okay.
Like, I just want to go there. Basically, you need to read both of those series because they're great.
Yes.
So I had North Carolina Outer Banks, the Last Call series by Sawyer Bennett.
Oh,
Um,
that's so good.
it's such a great series. But then I also had Angel Sands by Carrie Elks. So if you haven't read that series, again, that's a 9-book series, but you can pick it up anywhere. Um, if you have a superlative that we missed, please feel free to email us and tell us so that we can um, add them.
Or a book from the superlatives we have, because
Right.
we covered a lot of superlatives.
We did. So if you have a book that you think fits that we missed, tell us. We want to know because we like to add to our TBR too. Okay, everybody. It's Amanda's first time here for
Oh,
Book of
of
the
the week.
Week. Okay, Amanda, tell us your book of the week.
I'm sure no one who has talked to me this week is going to be surprised by this, but it's The Rookie and the Rock Star by Jiffy Kate.
So
I
good.
I'm never ever gonna get over Bo Bennett. I love this book. I'm not ever gonna stop talking about it. So he is the swooniest of swoony heroes. It was everything I wanted in a baseball book. And if you guys are watching baseball right now and you want a good baseball romance to read, read this book. It is so good.
I love this for you because I love that series, and Lindsay and I are doing a quick shot on book 4. So I was restarting the series as you were reading Bo Bennett. I'm like, huh, he was really swoony.
Oh, he's so good.
Mhm.
Okay, Carolina, what's your book of the week?
I had a little bit of comfort reading. So I'm rereading. Um and I have to hold on. I have to see the name of this because
It's okay.
it's a Stacey Kennedy book. It's part of the Sin Club series. It's the one with Becky, you might help me with the name. Porter and
She
oh,
wants me to remember
I
names.
know. Kinsey. Give
Hold,
me a second.
hold, please.
Tamed. It's Tamed.
Tamed. Okay.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The book 5 in the series.
I do love that series. I do love that series. I know because I made Carolina read it. Now she can't stop.
I'm rereading it. I think this is probably the third time I've read it.
It's one of those series that it has all the spice of like, say, like praise and such like that, but there's so much more intimacy
Hmm.
and so much deeper connections with the characters. And
Oh,
there's like really great character development.
and it has a great found family quality to it that if you're part of like the inner circle of this club, they take care of each other. This one also has a little suspense element because she owns a bookstore. I almost put it on the list, but they're in Vegas, so it's not small town.
No.
But she owns a bookstore, and there is like the Russian mafia coming to wanting to like buy it from her because they want to like take over that whole area, and she doesn't want to let it go for sentimental reasons. Um, and he's a private investigator, so um, there's that as well.
That's such a great series. If you haven't read it, Club Sin by Stacey Kennedy. It's really good. Okay, so my book of the week is That One Regret by Carrie Elks. It releases on August 31st. Okay, this book, you guys, it's swoony, like so swoony. I am not going to be shutting up about this book for a minute. It's so good. Here's the deal. I am very critical of next gen, right? Like we all know how I feel about some of these next gen books. This is next gen for the Heart Sing Creek. So, but also she dabbles in a bit of the taboo and forbidden. They are step cousins, and it's age gap. So, book 3 in the series, the hero is Cam, and his heroine is Mia. Mia is older, so it's an age gap where Mia is older, and at the time of that book, she has a 16-year-old son and a 7-year-old son. By the time we get to Grace's mom and dad's book, which is book 5 in that series, he's kind of already left town. There is a 17 or 18 year age gap between them. So he's older, but here's the deal. They meet and have a one night stand in New York City. She does not recognize him because he left. When he left Hartson Creek, he moved and went to college and never came back and lived abroad. And she's the daughter. Her parents own the distillery in town, which is the 5th book in that series. 4th or 5th, I think. I think it's the 5th. Anyway, Grace, they have this one night stand in New York City. After their one night stand, the next morning, she realizes who he is because he's talking to her mom and dad in the hotel lobby. And she ghosts him. Goes home, doesn't confront him, ghosts him, deletes his number, changes her phone number. A year later, the book starts, and he's returning home to Hartson Creek. And he's like, what? Anyway, it was bonkers. It was delightful. I'm obsessed. And he is swoony, and he refuses to give her up. But then he screws up, and the grovel, you guys. Like when we say we want a grade A grovel when you fuck up, he does it.
Gotta love gravel.
He does it, and
Yeah.
he's in
Oh,
spades.
yeah, because we don't want a freaking Nico situation.
No one wants that. Okay, Patreon updates. Swag Pack sponsors for the month of August are author Kennedy Mitchell and Melissa Foster. Also going out this week are our reading journals for those that are part of the Cold Brew and Queen Bee tier. And those will cover months September through December. Swag packs go out to Fancy Drink, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tier, and we'll still have fun buzzing about romance exclusive stickers, mood reading cards, and other fun things. But we also each month have sponsoring authors. And these just keep getting better and better. Because let me tell you, Angela M. Lopez sent me some things for After Hours. You guys. Anyway, these are mailed monthly on the 5th of the month, and we do ship these internationally. There is no wait time on this perk. It kicks in as soon as you join. Because of our amazing Patreons, we're able to bring you 3 episodes a week, and we are still working on our goal of 75 members so we can plan our first ever book retreat. All members of Patreon get exclusive episodes along with perks like Buzzing Book Club. So yeah, and we have lots of cool events happening. We're kind of going to take a little bit of break for a couple weeks because I'm traveling. But then we'll be back with more fun events. Like we're getting ready to gear up for our readathon in November. And we're going to have a Halloween party in our Discord. So if you like the live interactive events, make sure you check out our website at bookcaseandcoffee/events, bookcaseandcoffee.com/events. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys, and talking small town romances.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was fun as always.
Until
I survived.
You survived. Are you coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, she already broke the rules on her first episode, so I think she is part of the club.
Like, we can't let her go now.
No, I mean, she's in. Like,
she's also
she's one of us.
She's also in the group text that is like 78 notifications a day.
No, I've finished work and it's been over 100. Like, I have to mute it during work sometimes because it's like super active, and it's been over 100 notifications that I get to catch up on.
We're insane. Anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.